The detective said, "We found your fingerprints at the scene." I said, "I know. I left them there on purpose." The detective's coffee cup stopped halfway to his mouth. He set it down slowly, staring at me like I'd just spoken a different language. "Excuse me?" I leaned back in my chair, hands still cuffed in front of me. I said I left them there on purpose. Every single one. The doorknob, the kitchen counter, the murder weapon. I made sure you'd find them. He glanced at the one-way mirror, probably wondering if his colleagues were catching this. "Why would you do that?" "Because I needed to be in this room, talking to you, with a recorder running." He looked at the red light on the device between us, then back at me. His hand moved toward his holster instinctively. I didn't flinch. I'd waited 11 years for this conversation. I wasn't going to ruin it now. The man found dead in that apartment was named Gregory Ashford. He was a retired accountant with no criminal record, no enemies, no reason for anyone to want him dead. At least that's what his file says. The detective nodded slowly. "You knew him?" "I knew what he did. That's not the same thing. I was 14 when my sister disappeared. She was 16, beautiful, full of life. One day she was there, the next she was gone. No body, no witnesses, no leads. The police searched for 3 months, then moved on to other cases. My parents never recovered. My father drank himself to death by the time I was 19. My mother stopped speaking entirely, just sat by the window waiting for a daughter who would never come home. I joined the military at 18 to escape the silence. Did 2 tours overseas, learned things about tracking and surveillance that would become useful later. When I came back, I started my own investigation. Not officially, just me, my laptop, and every piece of information I could find about the day my sister vanished. It took me 4 years to find the first thread. A witness who saw my sister getting into a car that afternoon. A car registered to a shell company owned by Gregory Ashford. The detective was leaning forward now, forgetting his coffee entirely. "Keep talking." "Ashford wasn't just an accountant. He managed money for people who needed things to disappear. Money, evidence, people. He specialized in making problems go away for wealthy clients who couldn't afford scandals. My sister wasn't his only victim. She was just one of at least 12 girls who vanished over a 20-year period. All between 15 and 18. All from families too broken or too poor to keep pushing when the police gave up. I found the others by following the money. Every time a girl disappeared, a large cash deposit appeared in one of Ashford's offshore accounts." The detective's face had gone pale. "You have proof of this?" "I have 11 years of proof. Bank records, property deeds, burial sites. I found 3 of the bodies myself. I didn't disturb them. I documented everything and put it somewhere safe." "Why didn't you take this to the police?" the detective asked, his voice strained. "I did, twice. The first time I was 22. A junior detective told me I was obsessed and needed therapy. The second time I was 26. I brought a folder full of evidence to the FBI field office. 2 days later, my apartment was broken into. Nothing stolen except my laptop and backup drives. A week after that, I was audited by the IRS and fired from my job for discrepancies that didn't exist. I spent 3 years rebuilding my life while Ashford kept breathing, kept living in his nice apartment, kept cashing checks from people who paid him to make girls disappear." The detective was quiet for a long moment. "So you killed him?" "I didn't kill him. I found him already dead 2 nights ago. Heart attack, looks like. Natural causes at 71. But I knew that if he died peacefully, all of it would stay buried forever. No investigation, no justice, no answers for the families. So I made it look like murder. I planted evidence pointing to myself. I broke in, touched everything, staged the scene. Then I called 911 from a burner phone and waited for you to find me." The detective stared at me like I was insane. "You framed yourself for a murder that didn't happen?" "I framed myself for a murder so that you would have to investigate Gregory Ashford. Every piece of evidence I have is stored on a server that just sent an automated email to 6 major news outlets, the FBI director, and 3 senators. It triggered the moment I was processed into this station. By tomorrow morning, every journalist in the country will be asking questions about the retired accountant and his offshore accounts." I reached into my pocket slowly. The detective tensed. I pulled out a small key and slid it across the table. "Storage unit on 5th Avenue, Unit 224. Inside, you'll find 11 years of documentation, photographs of 3 burial sites, and a list of every client who paid Ashford to make their problems disappear. Some of those names will shock you." He picked up the key, turning it over in his fingers. "You'll never be convicted. There's no murder. The autopsy will show natural causes. I know. That's why I needed the fingerprints. I needed to be dramatic enough to make this impossible to ignore." I leaned forward. "My sister's name was Caroline. She would have been 28 this year. I made a promise at her empty grave that I would find out what happened to her. Ashford died before I could make him talk, but his records will tell me where she is." The detective opened the storage unit the next day and found everything I promised. Caroline's remains were recovered from a property in upstate New York 3 weeks later, along with 4 other girls. Ashford's client list brought down 2 congressmen, a judge, and a Fortune 500 CEO.